Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another video. Today's video is about fighting in relationships. Why is it so important to stop and how to do it? So let's get straight into it. This is basically the reason why it's so important to stop fighting and implement another way to resolve every situation. A difference between a relationship that is a balanced, good feeling relationship and a relationship that is not balanced, that is not a good feeling relationship. The difference between the two is simply in the way two people resolve tricky situations. Tricky situations will appear in our lives. We will be faced with tricky situations in relationships. So the difference between a balanced relationship and not so balanced relationship, a good feeling relationship and not so good feeling relationship, is in how we as a couple resolve, how we approach these tricky situations. It's as simple as that. So we can approach them by fighting, which is making a relationship not so balanced, and it's making it not so good feeling, a relationship. And the other option, so the first option is to approach these tricky situations with a fight, confrontation, and the second option is to approach it with a communication that has the aim of just resolving the situation. So if you are in a situation, in a relationship where there's a tricky situation came your way, there are two options: either to fight, to go into a fight, or to approach it from this point of view that you are communicating in order to resolve it. So I already said that the reason why it's important not to approach it with fighting, it's because if you constantly approach it with fighting, you are going to be in a relationship that is not feeling so good, that is not balanced. And if you approach it from this point of view that you are going to communicate in order to resolve this situation, then you are setting a foundation for a good feeling relationship, a balanced relationship that also has a bright future. So this is why it's important to stop fighting and to approach these situations in a different way. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this fighting, this concept of fighting. When I say fighting, what I actually mean is, and why is it so detrimental for it's actually very detrimental for a relationship to have a lot of these situations resolved by a fight. And it's detrimental for a relationship for the following reason. If there is a tricky situation and two people are used to just resolving it by fighting, this is what happens. They're not building that relationship, they're actually removing the pillars from the foundation of that relationship. And if we keep fighting, we actually keep removing the pillars from the foundation of that relationship, and sooner or later, the foundation will not hold any longer, and the whole thing is going to collapse. So by deciding not to approach these tricky situations with fighting, but rather with the communication that has the aim of resolving the situation, this way you are building, strengthening the pillars of that relationship and building a stronger foundation. You're building a stronger relationship. So it is so important to shift from fighting to just communicating in order to resolve a situation. So when we are fighting, this is why it's so detrimental. If you're fighting in a relationship, Basically, there is a situation, tricky situation. And if two people are ready to fight, if this is their automated response to any situation, this is what happens. Basically, when we fight, two people, or maybe one person, well, let's say two people have this idea that they are against each other. So I'm against you, you're against me, and I have to win. So when we are in this mode that we are in a fight, our brain gets a message that we need to win, we need to preserve ourselves. First, everyone is against us. You know, when we go into a fight, the opponent is our enemy. So our brain is literally observing the person in front of us as our enemy. It doesn't matter that that might be our partner of 10 years. If we step into it with this perception that it's a fight, your brain is in a fight mode. When your brain is in a fight mode, the person in front of you is your enemy. You have to defeat them and you have to win. By trying to defeat them, you're actually defeating a relationship. No one wins in this situation where you look at each other and you see enemies. No one wins. What happens is you're just basically crashing the pillars of your relationship. So if you observe the other person as the enemy, as the opponent, and you need to win, you need to be right, you need to prove that you are right, your point of view is right. And the worst thing you can do is also, just came into my mind, the worst thing you can do is to bring other people into discussion so they could prove to the other person, they could support your point of view, and they could show to the other person, you see, even them, they agree with me. They also agree that I'm right, so you are so wrong. You're not defeating them, you're defeating the relationship. So, how to stop fighting? Stop observing other person as an opponent, as an enemy. When a tricky situation comes up, in your own mind, do not have the goal of winning the argument. Have the goal of working things out and setting up a good foundation for the future. Meaning, when a tricky situation comes up, do not see the other person as an opponent that you have to defeat, because if you do that, you're actually defeating your own relationship. Think of another person as a partner who will then help you and you will help them to resolve this situation. This is the key difference. It will make such a difference in your relationship. So when a tricky situation comes up, you do not observe the other person. Think of the person in front of you as an opponent, an enemy that you have to defeat. Because if you do that, you're defeating your own relationship. Rather, see them, think of them as a partner, and you should work together to find a solution for this tricky situation so it does not show up again in the future. So you build a stronger foundation for your relationship. This is the difference between fighting and communicating in a relationship, which is actually a difference between a good feeling relationship and not so good feeling relationship. So this is the key thing, and the choice is yours. And most likely your reaction to tricky situation is a reaction that you're used to. Most probably our reactions you have adopted in your childhood. The way you saw situations being resolved around you when you were a child in your own home, this is how your brain has learned to resolve these situations. So this is your automated response. If your automated response is fight, attack, you need to prove them wrong, prove yourself right, get acknowledged that you are right. Instead of doing that, sit with yourself and think about what you're doing and acknowledge, okay, maybe your learned response you have adopted in your childhood is to go into a fight. But By doing that, you're defeating the relationship. So would you rather defeat the relationship, or would you rather build a stronger relationship? Would you rather contribute? Because both sides actually need to contribute to building a deeper relationship, to building stronger pillars for that relationship. But the choice, everyone has to do it for themselves. Start with yourself. So sit with yourself and understand, question everything deeply. Is your automated response that you have learned a fight? Then sit with yourself and make an agreement with yourself that you're not going to, next time around, you're not going to observe the other person as an enemy. You're going to step into it with the aim to communicate and just resolve the situation. Why is this important? Because in a relationship, we all have different perceptions about the same event. And when two people in a relationship, they have a different perception of the same event, which is a tricky situation, it is basically causing a misunderstanding. And then a misunderstanding that is never resolved, it's causing frictions in a relationship. It's basically making those pillars of relationship really wobbly, really unstable. It's weakening them. So that's why in any tricky situation, sit down and discuss the perception of the same event that the person in front of you, your partner, had and that you had. Compare the perceptions and then think of the best way to go forward. What is it that we can do now so we overcome this tricky situation and we avoid it to happen again in the future? This is a winning formula. And this is, if you choose to do this, rather than defeating your own relationship, you will strengthen your own relationship. So I hope this was helpful, and just go out there and strengthen the pillars of your beautiful relationships and enjoy your relationships, because building connections and deeper meaningful connections is one of the core needs that we have as humans. So investing in building a strong relationship is the best thing you can do for yourself. One of the best things you can do for yourself. So I wish you a beautiful day and sending you a lot of love.